Robbery. Jack Catterall has been robbed of his undisputed titles. He was challenging Josh Taylor for the undisputed light welterweight titles. And I tell you what, it was a very, very entertaining fight. Yes, there was quite a lot of grappling, but to be honest with you, it was a lot closer than a lot of people thought. It was a lot more competitive than a lot of people thought as well. And in addition to that, no one expected Jack Catterall to box as well as he did. Josh Taylor did look a little bit flat, I have to say. It's funny because you would have expected him to have looked the opposite given the crowd. I do think he is a little bit too big now for 140. But let's not make excuses because, to be fair, he didn't make that excuse after the fight. He said, yes, it is his last fight at 140 after the victory. And I put that in quotation marks because a lot of people thought Jack Catterall won. The scorecards were a joke, and we'll go into scorecards, then we'll go into the fight and kind of what I thought about it and what next as well after this saga. UK judges, let's just start off actually with the UK judging. UK judging needs to be overhauled. I don't know how it needs to be overhauled. I don't know if judging in general needs to change, but this is becoming an absolute joke. And to be honest with you, the UK seems to be the center of all these horrible decisions in the past 2 years. It's been, I think, we've had some terrible decisions. And the UK used to be one of those places where people thought, okay, if you came in as an away fighter, you would win fairly, as it should be in all territories all over the world. Now, the UK has become a place where the home fighter seems to have the biggest advantage ever, almost as if they've got 4 rounds in the bag already. Now, that is not how boxing should be. Josh Taylor, if we look at the cards, right, one judge gave him the win by 114 to 111, which means that he won the fight by 3 rounds. Jack Catterall got one of the decisions, so it was a split decision win for Josh Taylor. He got it 113, 112, and the other judge gave it to Taylor 113, 112. Now, I can't even see 113, 112, but what I definitely cannot see is 114, 111. Now, there's been a massive, massive fallout from this. We're going to go into what everyone seems to be saying, from Ben Shalom to Adam Smith to Josh Taylor to Jack Catterall to Ben Davison to Johnny Nelson to Carl Froch, to all these people all over boxing have been having their say on it. Before we get into that, Jack Catterall was really well. He dropped Josh Taylor in the fight, really good knockdown as well. He didn't hurt him in the sense that his legs were buckled, etc. It was a flash knockdown, really impressive boxing combination as well, thrown by Jack Catterall. The 1-2 was really potent throughout the fight, but the biggest thing for me was the right hook thrown. Of course, both also the left hook, even was the most potent shot throughout the night, and being right being the backhand side. So he threw that all night long, and Josh Taylor, for some reason, just had absolutely no answer for it. It was so bizarre to see because there were 2 cuts that opened up on Josh Taylor's eye. It was his right eye. One up here, one just below kind of his eye, kind of around about almost his cheekbone, and then one in the corner, just where what I want to say is, almost as if they hadn't trained him to combat Jack Catterall's left hook. It was so weird. And I was just thinking to myself, in the gloves are off, he literally says to Jack Catterall, you're going to try and hurt me with the left hook. And Jack Catterall's like, is that all you think I've got? Now, that's not all he's got, but that is his best weapon, clearly, in his arsenal, because it's his most potent punch. And Josh Taylor just let him have it all night long. He got clipped with it all night long. And it was bizarre. I didn't really see him, I guess, adapt to it. And yes, at some point in the fight, he did come on stronger. Jack Catterall did fall away a little bit towards the end of the fight. And Josh Taylor did have a couple of rounds where he was better, but he was throwing and he wasn't really landing much. There was pressure there, but it wasn't shots landing flush. He didn't really hurt Catterall at any point in the fight. Catterall was clipping Josh Taylor consistently. There was grappling, there was holding, yes, but Catterall was being clever when he was doing it, because as soon as Josh Taylor got into a position where it looked like he might be comfortable to then fight on the inside, Catterall said, "No, I'm not going to let you," and held him. And that's fine. At the end of the day, right, he needs to employ the tactic he thinks is best to win the fight. It doesn't matter whether it's fan friendly or not. But what he did do very well was move his head extremely well, a lot better than Josh Taylor. He didn't get clipped as much, dipping underneath shots and then countering. Just in general, he looked quicker, sharper, stronger as well at the weight. Now, again, yes, that could be to do with the weight cut that Josh Taylor had to go through, although he said after that the weight cut was fine, but he's a little bit too big for the weight just because he's put on some mass in the offseason. And he also said that the occasion might have got to him a little bit because he wanted to impress the Scottish crowd after not fighting in Scotland for a bit of time. And he thought, actually, I need to really put on a show. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. You cannot sit here and tell me that Josh Taylor won that fight. If anyone wants to in the comments, please feel free to explain to me how he won that fight. I'm sure there'll be some people trolling in there as well. But generally, it was just unbelievable to witness. It really was. When the scorecards were being read out, you could see, and I don't care what anyone says, Josh Taylor knew he lost the fight, because when the fight was over, he went to his corner and was getting kind of patched up. His face, look at the difference in faces of Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor. I mean, that doesn't always tell a story, yeah, but it gives you a little bit of an indication. Jack Catterall a little bit marked up. Josh Taylor had 2 big cuts on his face. That says a lot. Yes, some people cut more easily, etc., but that was a big indicator. And then on top of that, when the fight was over, you could see on Josh Taylor's face, you could see on his face that he knew he'd lost. When the ref was with Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, you could see again, Josh Taylor knew he'd lost. The first scorecard was read out and it was given to Jack Catterall. Again, you could see Josh Taylor was like, okay, I'm going to lose this. He's like, I'm going to lose this. Then when he was given the split decision, he was like, oh yeah, I won. No. And then he had the audacity in the post-match interview to say, or post-fight interview, sorry, to say that he definitely won. And the interview, to be fair to him, I think it was Adam Scott, if I'm not mistaken, said to Josh, look, the consensus online is that you lost that fight. He said, look, I understand you don't. And I have to say one thing, by the way. We cannot blame Josh Taylor for the cards. He's not the judges. He's not the judges, so he's not in control of it. What I can say and levy towards him, though, is the way that he's handled it. Now, unless he's that deluded that he genuinely thinks he's won this fight by a clear margin, which surely he cannot be that wrapped up in his own hype, he should have been saying something along the lines of, you know what, it was a very competitive fight. It was close. I thought I just did enough to win. However, I can see why some other people might think that Jack could have taken the victory as well. But I'm grateful to get the win. Instead, he did say, to be fair, it was competitive. But what he said is that I clearly won. I had the more meaningful, hurtful shots. I definitely won the fight. Throughout the whole of the post, in the press conference after the fight, throughout that whole press conference, all he's saying is, I won the fight. I won the fight. I won the fight. I won the fight. It's almost like he's saying it so many times because he doesn't actually believe it himself, but he's saying it so many times, almost make himself believe it and also make everyone else believe. When that old saying that if you say something enough times, everyone will believe it. And that's almost what he was doing. It was bizarre to see. It really was bizarre to watch. And Ben Davison, he knows that they didn't win that fight. And even in the last round, he told Josh Taylor, you need a knockout. And he said, I only told him that because I thought that, I wanted to give him extra motivation to win the round. I was like, but if you think he only needs to win the round, you don't tell someone to go and get the knockout because he might get clipped himself and get knocked out, especially because Jack Catterall was the one hurting Josh Taylor throughout the fight. And he seemed to be the one who had more power throughout the whole fight as well. So I think, clearly mixed messages, and Josh Taylor, I think, he needs to be a bit more gracious in the way that he's handling this, in my opinion. He's saying that he's not going to give him the rematch, which, I mean, why would he, to be honest with you? One, because clearly he, wants to move up to welterweight. He said that. I think he probably only gave Jack Catterall this chance because he stepped aside for Jose Ramirez for the undisputed fight. And look, I mean, also, by the way, apparently he didn't get a single penny of step aside money. He just stepped aside for free. Now, his team should be doing better. They should be getting some money from that initially, and they didn't. That was really poor. Yeah, just crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But genuinely, I feel that Jack Catterall should be thinking, how did I not get step aside money? And then how did I not win that fight? And he walked off almost in protest to say, like, how have I lost this fight? All over social media, he's really upset. You can tell. Hasn't given any interviews. He's basically saying he's heartbroken. Jamie Moore said that this is what puts people off the game. That's his trainer and coach. Johnny Nelson also said the same thing. He also had other people saying a similar thing, and it was crazy. Like Johnny Nelson said, Adam Smith won. Matt Macklin said that he won as well. I don't think anyone said that Josh Taylor should have won that fight. Absolutely no one. Ben Shalom said he was embarrassed to put the fight on. He said he was embarrassed to put the fight on because he said, I was promoting the show. I'm embarrassed with the scorecards. This shouldn't have happened. Now, fair play to them to coming out and saying that. What would have been even more embarrassing for him is having to sit in that post-fight press conference next to Josh Taylor after he just said those comments, with Josh Taylor saying every second word, every second phrase, I won that fight, I won that fight, I won that fight. Either way, though, there will be an investigation into it. We'll see what comes from it. I would imagine nothing. Josh Taylor will move up to 147. Look, he's a phenomenal fighter. I really like him, and it's not his fault the score cards were given or the fight was given to him. But at the end of the day, you need to be more gracious in the way that you take it after that as well. And Jack Catterall, I really hope he gets another opportunity because he's not a big name. He's not a big draw. That's the problem. He waited so long for this opportunity. What's he going to do now? And this is what puts people off boxing, unfortunately. And we've had a lot of fights go like this in the past, and it's not great to see. It's really, really not. So hopefully this is the end. Well, hopefully we see some cause of action after this. And look, Josh Taylor will move up at 147. There's killers there. We'll see how he does. He will look stronger and bigger, but do I fancy him against Crawford? No, after that performance. But was that the best Josh Taylor? No, I don't think it was either. But Jack Catterall with a perfect game plan, executed it well, should have got the win. In the end, didn't. And I can see why he's gutted and everyone else is gutted as well. And everyone else is completely, I think, angry, really, as fans, as pundits, to see this happen because it's ruining boxing. And people will think, why should I go into boxing when I'm not going to get the decision as the away fighter? Anyway, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and also click the like button as well if you haven't done so already. Do appreciate it. Stay safe and well, and see you.